All right. I want to start off this morning by thanking everyone in this congregation for just the blessings that you poured out on my family and I, and thanking you guys for the opportunity to serve here. It has been officially 1 year that we've been on staff here, if you don't count the 6 months that I did the internship prior to that. So we've been here officially 18 months, right? And we're just grateful to you guys for the opportunity to serve here, and we've really enjoyed it, and we're looking forward to many more years. I'm going to mess up your music, Nate. Many more years. I guess it doesn't matter. There's no more songs. So then I can get rid of your music. There we go. All right. But we just want to thank everybody for the opportunity, and we're glad to be here. Now, when we moved here, though, most of you guys probably didn't realize that we were foreigners, did you? Now, we weren't foreigners to America, but we grew up in a very different place than this country you guys call Colorado. We grew up in the desert Southwest, and when we came here, my family and I, we were foreigners in this strange land. You guys have very unusual things to us, like little itty-bitty air conditioners. I don't understand that. I'm not sure how they condition a whole house, but they seem to do the job. See, where we're from, you have a little house and a very big air conditioner, and it runs 10 months out of a year. So I don't know, but another thing that was really weird to us is basements. And see, in Yuma we had basements, but we used them to get cool in the summer and in the winter to get cool, but not because of tornadoes. Tornadoes and tornado sirens. You know, the first one I heard, I was thinking Red Dawn. Okay. I'm like thinking, oh my gosh, the Russians are coming and we're in trouble. We better run to the mountains. I didn't, you know, I've heard of them having sirens for tornadoes, but where we're from, the only natural disaster we really worry about besides a big dust storm is an earthquake, and there is absolutely no warning that that's coming. So if they had a siren for that, it would be too late. So you just kind of deal with it, but not tornadoes. Another thing that's really odd to us was a laundry chute. Now, how many of you guys have a laundry chute in the house that you live in? There is some laundry chutes. I think they're probably outlawed, and I know the reason why. But this house has a laundry chute. My kids had never seen a laundry chute before. They didn't know what that was for. See, in Yuma, if you got a 2-story house, you're rich because you have 2 air conditioners. You have one for upstairs and one for downstairs. And the one upstairs is still bigger than the one you guys put on these houses. Not only are you that rich, but you probably have a maid to carry your laundry up and down the stairs. So you don't need a laundry chute. So my kids, they thought the laundry chute was just the coolest thing when we moved here, because they could get from the upstairs bathroom to the downstairs laundry room very quickly. Very secretively. And the boys would use that, and we broke them of that really quick, but they did it several times, and they thought it was a great magic trick. They wanted to put their sister down there. We said, no. You gotta draw an end to this. But see, there was some things that were just different to us. But now that we've been here for a year and a half, things are becoming more and more familiar to us. We're learning, and we're growing, and we're beginning to understand what life in Colorado is about, and we're beginning to adapt more to our surroundings in a sense. For instance, the other day, the tornado siren went off here in Aurora. I didn't care. I didn't even pay attention to it. The boys were playing a video game. They put it on pause for a second and then turned it back on. Sandra looked out the window, said, it must be a test. And we went on with life. I guarantee you, the first one, we were huddled in the basement underneath a blanket with a jug of water, thinking, this is it. It is over. And why did we move here, you know? No, but we've learned and we've grown, and we've become accustomed to the way things have done. In fact, speaking of growing, yesterday, and I'm glad this happened yesterday so I can share it with you guys. It really did happen yesterday. We hear a screaming, and it's Barrett. Mom, Dad, help! Where are you? In the bathroom. No, you're not. Yes. Open up the cupboard door. Oh, he's in the laundry chute. he has grown and he can't fit through the laundry chute anymore. But he thought maybe he could try it one more time. He claims he was stuffing clothes down the laundry chute for his mom and accidentally fell into the laundry chute, which was, that big. And he's much bigger, so he got stuck in the laundry chute and we had to pull him out. But as we go on, we've learned and we've grown. And just like we read this week about Ruth, she was a foreigner in a strange land, and she had to learn their customs. She had learned a lot from Naomi, I assume, in her previous marriage to Naomi's husband. And she had to learn their customs of the Israelites. Because Ruth isn't an Israelite, right? What is Ruth? She's a Moabite. We'll get to what a Moabite is here in a minute. But she was a Moabite. So she wasn't accustomed to their religion and their belief system. So she had to get with that and learn those things and grow. And I think a lot of times we as Christians, when we read the story of Ruth, we really can identify with Ruth, being a foreigner in a strange land. Sometimes we can identify with the faith of Ruth, that it took to leave everything that she knew and go be with Naomi. We can identify with the faith that she had to go to Boaz. But have we ever tried to identify with Boaz? I know. I caught some heat from the praise team earlier. This is not a sexist thing. I didn't purposely dig out the man in the story to share with you. I'm not trying to pull away from the fact that Ruth is a very important person in the Bible. The book is named after her. But what about Boaz? I think Boaz has some very interesting stories to tell us. Some very interesting parallels that we should have in our own lives. Can we identify with Boaz? Last week we talked about something. We talked about being part of this world, right? We talked about being in this world but not of it. We talked about being Canaanized or Americanized, as it was, right? And the dangers that we have in that. We don't want to become Canaanized. We don't want to become Americanized. And I think this is the first example that we see right here with Boaz in his life. He has not become Canaanized. We don't see that. We're not told that. He is still an Israelite man. He is still doing the practices of an Israelite man. He's still following God. He's in this world, but he's not of it. See, what the story doesn't reveal to us is what is exactly happening in Bethlehem at this time. See, this story, Ruth, takes place about the same time as Gideon. Okay? And there's some really, really bad things happening. Okay? The people have really become corrupt. There is a lot of rape, a lot of murder, a lot of thievery, a lot of betrayal, a lot of all sorts of bad things happening, especially in Bethlehem right now, when she gets there. We don't get that from the story. You're going to have to only get that from either me or don't trust me and read your Bible, hopefully. But it's in there. Now that's what's going on. And so you have Boaz who, he doesn't cave to this stuff. We see a guy that doesn't cave to these things. We see a guy that looks at Ruth in the field and thinks, I'd like to get to know her better. Where did she come from? He starts asking those kinds of questions. Not just running out and taking her. Not just doing what he wants. Not just stealing her land. Those kinds of things. He's he's referred to as the kinsman redeemer. This is somebody of honor and integrity. He watches out for Ruth at every chance he gets. He protects her. He gives her food. He keeps her safe. You could even draw a conclusion that the reason he doesn't send her out at night after he finds her in his bedroom is because of how unsafe the environment would be at night. And he protects her. He watches out for her in the fields. He tells his servants to watch out for her in the fields. He gives her extra grain. He shows her extra courtesies. But then again, which one of us guys wouldn't do that for a pretty woman, right? Right? Come on, guys, be honest. You bend over backwards for the pretty girl out in the field. And I don't know if Ruth was pretty or not. But I do know that she's a Moabite. So back to the Moabite bit. What does it mean to be a Moabite? See, that's a problem for Boaz, isn't it? That's a problem for a good Israelite boy, to be looking at a Moabite woman. I mean, God has told them to wipe the Canaanites out. But who are the Moabites? The Moabites are pretty awful people. They have a pretty bad reputation. Remember a couple chapters ago we read about their king, right? And he went to Balak and asked him to put a curse on the Israelites. He didn't want to be defeated by the Israelites. These are the Moabites. Then again, after they conquered that land, the Israelites began to intermarry with the Moabites. Not just intermarry, but partake in pagan rituals. Pretty disgusting rituals. Ones that involve sacrifices. All sorts of things. Idol worship. They moved further and further away from God. Don't forget where the Moabites come from. Anybody remember where they come from? Who's their descendants? They are the descendants of Lot's incestuous relations with his daughters. This is about as far from Abraham's family as you can get. Right? I mean, this is the exact opposite of what Abraham does. Abraham goes one way, Lot goes the other. Lot falls into Sodom and Gomorrah. And we have all sorts of bad things that come from there. And that's where these people are coming from. They're impure breeding. These Moabites are considered vile and disgusting sinners in the eyes of the Israelites. But not in the eyes of Boaz. He doesn't look at Ruth that way, does he? Boaz has not been changed by the world that he lives in. He doesn't think, like we said last week, in two paradigms. Right? Paradigm one of his world would say, you're an Israelite descendant of Abraham. You are of pure breed. You don't mess with this evil, vile Moabite. Paradigm two would say something like, just take what she has. Take her land, take her, take whatever you want, because that's what we're doing anyways. You just take whatever you want. He doesn't look at her either way. Instead, he sees past the fact that she's a Moabite. He sees past the fact that she's a foreigner, and he sees a woman that he can help and that he wants to help. So this is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, for us. This is why I say maybe we should view this story from the eyes of Boaz. Most of us in this room are Christians. Most of us are. Most of us aren't foreigners anymore. Most of us became Christians and we've learned the ropes. We've learned and we've grown and we understand what it means to be a Christian now. Most of us have put on the last name of Christian. We are the Boazes. We are looking at the foreigners who are the not saved, that are outside, that need our help. We're looking at them and there are Ruths. See? Because we understand the customs. We understand the language. And we like to speak in the language. If there's foreigners in the room, sometimes we like to use that language to sound smart. And it really doesn't sound smart. Sometimes we like to talk about how great it is to be a Christian. And sometimes people don't want to hear that. Right? Because they're not in that club or that group. That's why I say sometimes we are the Boazes, and we need to look at those that are outside like that. We're not strangers anymore. We're not the lost ones. We've been found, or we've found our way. Our job as the Boazes is to share that with the foreigners, right? To share that freedom with the foreigners. To share with them who Jesus Christ is. How He is our kinsman redeemer. So we are to be like Boaz. We are to look at the Ruths and see the world and reach out to them. We're not to go after them screaming it's our way or the highway. We're not to go after them like somebody said earlier this morning. You know, they were taught about no dancing or you'll go to hell. That's not really what we're supposed to do. But we're supposed to go to them and we're supposed to share what it means to be a Christian. We're supposed to bring them into the fold and show them who the Good Shepherd is. We're called to be, or to lead them to the kinsman redeemer. We are called to bring people to see the cross. Just like Ruth, our Ruths aren't clean. But then again, neither are we, right? Neither are we. Just like Ruth, our Ruths our strangers, our foreigners that we're trying to reach, they might be prostitutes. They might be the gay. They might be drug addicts. They might be drunks. They might be a lot more like us. They might be liars and gossips. They might be a lot more like us than we think. But one thing that they all have in common is they're our neighbors. Each and every one of those roofs is our neighbors. And we're called to go out and love our neighbors and share with our neighbors and seek our neighbors for the Lord. See, our roofs are the people that are around us, the people that don't understand Jesus our way, don't know Jesus the way we do, is a better way to say that. This week, my challenge to you guys is, let's be the Boaz in this modern day world. Let's be in this world, but not of it. I gave you guys that challenge last week. How did it work? Let's be in this world, but not of it. Let's take it one step further this week. Let's be in it, not of it, but let's try to show others what it's like to be with Jesus. Let's reach out to them and show them Jesus in our lives, not with the words that we have, not with the knowledge that we have, but with the actions that we show them. Let's show them the love of Christ through our actions. Jesus tells us He didn't come here to be served. He came to serve. We are to be servants of His. Let us go out and serve this week. Let us lead people to the kinsman redeemer of Jesus and share His love with those that you come in contact with this week. Okay.